Hey, welcome to The Conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And if you're watching this, you are seeing that I'm in my cool South African / Zimbabwe threads. The team actually thought they'd play a practical joke on me and get me something that would make me look ugly, but actually it makes me look fantastic. Just check this out. This is my zebra Zimbabwe shirt found in the market that is just absolutely outstanding. So what's this all about? We've recently taken a team, 6 people from Texas, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and we got to go to Zimbabwe and South Africa. And so what I'm going to do in this podcast / blog, whatever it may be, is give you a summary of what we did, what the results were, and what we learned. And so just a heads up, it was a fantastic time. We called it a adventure missions retreat because it's a combination of like an executive retreat with a series of workshops. A missional component to what we do is pouring out into the local people and leaders. And we just had a ton of fun. Adventure, a retreat on a lake in northern Zimbabwe. So here's what we did. Number one is we took this team, we went down to Zimbabwe with Tommy Dushell and Pastor Tom Dushell of Celebration Ministries International. It was their annual synod where literally all of the leaders from that ministry from Dubai, Zimbabwe, all around Africa come together, 600 to 1,000 leaders, and they spend a couple of days, maybe 2-3 days, annual conference together for that community. And so we came in, and on the Saturday morning of that event, about 600, 650 leaders. Now, you've got to know this about Africa is the pastors aren't pastors like American pastors. Over there, they are not receiving their income from the local church. They're bivocational. Business leaders, community leaders, they're engaged in both the entire time. So when we say we're speaking to 600 odd pastors and leaders, those pastors and leaders are also business people. So we got to teach, train, equip, connect them, and partnering with God at work and engaging the well-being of the city. Then we took the team and a couple of local business leaders up to Lake Kariba. That's northern Zimbabwe near Victoria Falls. And we're on a houseboat for 3 days, game drive fishing, strategic prayer mastermind sessions. It is crazy beautiful up there. And then we took the team down to Cape Town, South Africa with Tommy, Tommy wasn't with us, with Colin Walker and Brandon Knott of Encounter Church down there. And we did a 1.5 day Heaven and Business workshop. So what were the results? Well, our objective in going was threefold. Number one was to strengthen, pour into the leaders. That's Tommy and Tom and the team there in Zimbabwe, and Colin and Brandon and the team there in South Africa. Because what we know is that pour into the leaders. Those are the ones that are the ongoing one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three relationships that we have. The stronger that they are, the better they are, then everything else flows. Secondly was actually our team, taking these 6 business leaders with us and activating them and their gift, calling, and positioning them with clarity for what's next. And then thirdly is those that we got to serve, whether that was the teams or wider teams in the different locations, but also the participants, the guests that came to these events. So what was the results? Well, talking to Tommy, Brendan, Colin, 10 out of 10 was the response in terms of how we impacted actually every level. Number 1, 2, 3 objective. The only feedback that we got that was critical is, we wish you were here for an extra day, that's great feedback. Secondly, for me personally, the greatest feedback was from their team saying, you didn't just come and minister, teach, train, equip, but actually you poured into us. You were interested in our marriages, in our families, in our businesses. You questioned us, you prayed, you listened, you heard. That was great. And then the testimonies that came out. I've shared some of those before, but just seeing businesses turn around, people encouraged, people restarting discipleship initiatives that they'd put to the side. That's just so encouraging. Hearing phrases like pivotal, life-changing, but we're going to hear more of that on an ongoing basis. And then seeing our team get activated. That is so fun, where people are saying, I've got my voice back. Teaching and training how to partner with God in their place of work. So loved it. And then I want to get to you is the key things of what we learned. Before I do that, heads up, we're going to be going back next year. We'll do a trip definitely to Harare, partnering with Tommy Duchel, and we'll take the team up to Victoria Falls and the adventure retreat component of that, and then we'll see what we do beyond that. Great opportunities opening up. But you can find out more heavenandbusiness.com/events to find out all of these things where you can actually join in and be a part of us stateside and around the world, that we're getting to do just this fun time of teaching, training, equipping people to partner with God in your place of work. Actually, it's in all of life, but we just do it in the language of our business or our work. So what was it that we learned? Well, number one, the strategy is working. Here's what I wrote down. It's easy to take a team to do an event and get caught up in the temporary buzz and vanity metrics that immediately circulate. Our strategy is to focus first on the leaders who host us. They're the ones that are key to this as an ongoing, fruitful endeavor. Secondly, it's the activation of our team that we brought with us. And thirdly, the participants themselves, with whom we have the least amount of personal interaction. So the strategy is working. It's so easy to get caught up with the opportunities that surround us. It's endless. And actually, it's ego building, because you can just go new thing, new thing, new thing, new thing. The harder thing is to choose 10 or 12 people around you, and you pour consistently and intentionally discipling, mentoring, training, growing them into who they're called to be. It's harder work. It's like parenting, but I guarantee to you that in the long run, it is the most effective strategy to change the world. I can get overwhelmed by all of the things that are going on around me, or I can focus on what is in my hand and the people that are my immediate connections, pouring intentionally into them. Keep doing the good work that you started to do. So that's number one, our strategy is working. Number two, not all collaboration is equal. I don't know about you, but we're hearing this phrase, come on, let's collaborate together. You know what? The same happened in Nehemiah's day. I am doing a great work, and I'm not going to get distracted by the seeming, this inclusion, what seems to be the right thing is not necessarily. So in experiencing this and looking around and seeing this across Cape Town and in Zimbabwe, there's so many things where we can collaborate. But if you do not know what it is that you're building, who you're focused on, then collaboration is just a distraction. Here's what I wrote down and I'm learning, is as multiple organizations seek to work together in the cause of collaboration, it has become clear that not all collaboration is equal. Some of this is a distraction or even a deterrent to what you are doing or called to do. It is better to celebrate different organizations doing great work and refer to them. Hey, you guys are doing this, go and do that, rather than being no things to all people. Did you hear that? No things to all people. So what I've got to know is, who am I called to serve? Who is my customer? How do I help them? How do you sustain what you're doing? Like, how are you going to do that financially on an ongoing basis? And once you can clearly answer those questions, then here's some collaboration questions. Do I collaborate with you and your organization? Number one is, how well are we aligned on vision and values? Are we going the same direction, but actually, are we going the same direction with the same mode of transport? As in, what's really, really important to you maybe not be really important to me. I was talking to someone recently, and they have workshops that go from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Like, that's pretty strong lecture style. That's a value. It's not wrong. It's different to what we do. We want to do activation, interaction, discussion, and application, because what we've found is that it's a greater importance in terms of seeing lives change. We want to create more space for people to interact, connect, and create opportunities for ministry, for prayer, for hearing God. What's the point? I've got to be aligned not just on vision, but also on values, the way that we're delivering what we're delivering. The second thing is, how well are you aligned on capacity? Is your target customer the same, the different, or at a different or diverse level? So what does that mean? That means if I'm bringing in leaders at a high level, and we're meeting with people that are at a completely different capacity, we're going to have just a difference in terms of how we reach people and the value of that time and contribution. It's not going to work. So I've got to know, are we reaching the same people? Can we collaborate together, or actually can we collaborate in a different way? I'm reaching this group of people, you're reaching this group of people. Great. Let's actually refer to one another and collaborate, because we're doing something different compared to, let's just all throw our things in together and do the same. No, inclusion is not the same as an intentional focus on, this is who I'm called to serve. Our next point is on collaboration is, how well are you aligned relationally? That's easy. That's like, is it fun to work with you? Is it joyous actually walking and working together? If not, question. Again, there's nothing stopping you referring to one another, encouraging and celebrating others, but it's a difference between let's do this together. And then finally, this is the trump card really. If you're praying about it, God tells you to collaborate with someone, everything else is irrelevant. Be obedient. So that was number 2. Number 3, low hope is a silent killer. Going into Cape Town, South Africa, compared to Zimbabwe, knowing that I was there 4 years ago, contrasting those two countries, and my wife Janine spoke a message on hope. It was an eye-opener. It shifted the atmosphere, and it taught me some things about the significance of hope in your organization. It is a currency of whether you advance or you draw back. There's so much in that. I'm going to pause and just push that to a future podcast. You can listen to that next week. And then number 4, this is both a joy and grief. Sin is evil and beauty exists next door. So here's what I wrote. We got to experience the beauty of two nations, kind and noble people, majestic panoramas, and creation at its best at sunrise and sunset. Wild and wacky animals. We got to see Zazu. If you've never seen Lion King, we got to see Zazu in the wild. Anyway, it was fun for me. And if you've seen Madagascar, the movie, zebras running around, I'm calling out, Marty! Yeah, none of them responded. But according to that movie, anyway, go watch the movie if you don't know what I'm talking about. But we got to also see the devastation of evil. Sin is anything that corrupts our proper connection with one another, with creation, with God, and with self. Sin in a nation shows up as poverty, injustice, and orphan or victim thinking, oppressive and corrupt government, and dishonor that abounds. Seeing the beauty and the evil side by side so close together, it's kind of shocking. And in that case, it's almost embedded. Like literally a street across, you see something different. You'd be walking one way and then you hear things. It's just like jarring because of the contradiction right side by side. So it's also grievous and eye-opening and a wake-up call that my home nation, the United States of America, is no different. It's just covered slightly more by affluence and indifference. I just want to say that again. It's grievous and eye-opening and a wake-up call that the United States is no different to Zimbabwe and in Africa, where we've got incredible beauty side by side with the devastation of sin and evil, things that have corrupted our proper connection with God, with creation, with one another, and ultimately with ourselves. So it's easy to run to a distant nation and see the need and jump into the opportunities. The greater need is in my own backyard, staying tender towards God and one another, staying focused on my calling, staying fierce in my honor towards all people, and staying in overflowing gratitude toward a God who raises the dead and calls things that don't exist as though they did. Without him, I can do nothing. With him, there's nothing I cannot do. So let's go. It's so easy to get distracted by so many things out there that you can be a part of. But I've got to come back to this theme that we were hearing again and again and again. God, what have you called me to? Who is my customer? What is their problem? What is my solution? And what's the business model, the way that I'll sustain what I'm doing and helping and serving people? So what's the next step? Certainly jump on, read this as a blog. There's more details there. Join us in Heaven and Business. We can grow together and partnering with God at work and engaging the well-being of the city we serve. And also know this, we're going to be doing more of this. Alongside of Heaven and Business, we've got a 501c3, that's a non-profit, set up to do exactly what we do with Heaven and Business, but in places that are restricted economically. They couldn't necessarily afford to have a team of the caliber that we had come to their nation and pour out for 3 days. I know that we benefit, but the value and the pouring out of that there, and also the resources just like this that we can start to distribute to connect, train, and activate people in partnership with Tommy in Zimbabwe, in partnership with other people in other nations, that we want to do that and multiply that. If you want to help multiply that message, well, not just help, you actually are multiplying that message. You can find out more, contact me, or just jump onto the link below. There's a PayPal link to the Hope Directive that gives you a 501c3 registered donation that you can multiply the message of partnering with God at work and engaging of the well-being of the city that you serve. Hey, thanks for listening and being a part of the story. Check out next week when I'm going to share with you something critical in terms of your own awareness of how the lack of hope or low hope is a silent killer that we need to be aware of. Have a great week.